evening. We bring you the latest in the world of sports and the conversations you want to hear from your favorite icons and athletes. I'm Paulo Del Rosario. In tonight's game plan, Nonito, the Filipino Flash Donaire, makes history after his WBC World Bantamweight World Championship bout against Nordine Oubaali. Then we break down today's playoff games, including the big Hawks win over the Knicks, led by Trae Young. Is he the next big thing in the NBA's Eastern Conference? And we go inside the game with birthday boy, former Blue Eagle captain Mike Nieto, as he and his brother Matt take on leadership duties for Gilas, Pilipinas in the Kalam Bubble. Now, they say in sports, father time is undefeated. Now, whoever came up with the saying did not pass the memo on to 38-year-old Nonito Donaire. The Filipino Flash turned back the hands of time with a vintage performance, knocking out Nordine Oubaali in the fourth round to capture the WBC World Bantamweight Championship. 14 years after he won his first world title, Donaire is now the oldest World Bantamweight champion. Now, after dealing Oubaali his first career loss in 18 fights, Donaire stood in the ring and punctuated his win with a statement to the rest of the Bantamweight division. He says, "The king has returned." Now onto the NBA. Let's check out some Western Conference action in Game 4 of the series between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Phoenix Suns. LeBron James and Chris Paul, the two captains, warming up here in a big one at the Staples Center. Devin Booker starts off early with a jumper near the elbow. LeBron on the other end spinning and getting the slam on the other end of the floor. Now this time, Jay Crowder, he had a great game, finding his range from deep with a pair of three bombs to hurt the Lakers. Lakers now on the break. Caruso finds LBJ, the high flyer, and the two-handed flush. Now still in the first half, scary moment here for the Lakers as Anthony Davis falls down hard. He would not return to the game and was diagnosed with a strained left groin. AD would walk away from this one, worrying Laker Nation all over the world. Meanwhile, CP3 continued to pile on the misery and onto the lead in the fourth with some fancy footwork. On the other end, LeBron James trying to cut the deficit, bullying his way to the paint for the bucket. Now Marc Gasol finding LeBron once again. Nice backdoor feed, but it was too little, too late. Jay Crowder with the three, the dagger, sealed win for the Suns, 100-92. Checking out the rest of today's Western Conference games, the Suns and Lakers are now tied at 2 games apiece, while the Clippers dominate the Mavericks in Game 4, which also evens the series at 2-2. Joining us now to talk about today's big games, we have UAAP champion from the Ateneo Blue Eagles and NBA hype analyst Tyler Teo, and the host of the Republica Huddle on NBA Philippines, Nico Ramos. Gentlemen, welcome to the game. Nico, great to see you over there. I love your collection behind you. It's always better. It's always better than Tyler's. And Tyler, great to see you here in person in the studio. It's weird for me to have someone right next to me, and it's great to have you both over here.
Yeah, it's great to be here, man. Thank you.
You know, unfortunately, for the both of you, I know, Nico, you're a Kobe guy. Tyler, you're a Lakers fan. And how worried are you right now, Tyler?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little worried. But I'm just gonna trust in the king, and I'm not gonna abandon the ship now. So I know Nico can back me up when I say the Lakers still have a big chance to win the series. Please, I'm actually more praying right now than saying it. But Nico, please back me up.
Nico, you got us back on this one?
It depends. It depends. I mean, Tyler's back is his hopes, his dreams, mine as well. They're all resting on the health of Anthony Davis. I think the health of Chris Paul, that question's been answered. If Chris Paul is back, as he emphatically said in the second half of that game, and Anthony Davis is out, this series is a wrap. We're going back to Phoenix where the Suns have been good. I mean, I know that the Lakers are favorites in this series entering, but they're the 2 seed for a reason. They're an incredible basketball team, and the way that they're able to find offense, even though Devin Booker hasn't had a spectacular 40-point outing or anything like that, they've tied up this series. They're going back home. They've handled their business. If AD isn't AD, if he's not the 34-point dominant force that he was in Game 2 or Game 3, I mean, sorry, Tyler, it's an early offseason for many Laker fans like us. That's just the long and short of it.
Well, without AD there, the one guy that they're going to have a hard time checking is probably DeAndre Ayton. Now, he had a fantastic series so far, Tyler. Again, scary. The Suns are very scary without AD there to check a guy like Ayton. What does that have to say about what DeAndre Ayton's doing right now in the series?
Well, first of all, even with AD, the Lakers are having a super tough time with DeAndre Ayton. So without AD, I don't know. He might go crazy the next game. I don't know. But I expect some of the Lakers guys to step up as well. Marc Gasol, Andre Drummond, maybe Harrell will get more minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. Well, okay, I know Lakers fans don't like talking about this other team, so I'm going to go to the less hardcore, diehard Laker guy here, Nico. The Clippers finding a way to tie the series after they looked like they were out of it. Just what happened in your mind? What happened in Kawhi's head that really, he just changed everything? It became a different story when he turned it all on.
First of all, I have 2 Laker-themed tattoos, so I think that I'm a little crazier in the Laker fanaticism than Mr. Tio over there. But they started to change the defense on the Luka Doncic pick and roll. I think that's it. Paul George and Kawhi, they were stellar even in the first 2 losses at home. But Luka Doncic on the pick and roll, drawing out Zubac and just stepping back, hitting threes all over him, and ironically still being able to see the floor, beat him off the dribble, and find open looks for his teammates. That was a problem for the Clippers. They've gone 5 out. They've figured out that their best 5 is a really, really small 5. And they've rolled the dice with it. It's Kawhi, it's PG, it's Reggie Jackson, it's Marcus Morris, and it's Nick Batum. They're going to live and die with that 5. And the series really shifted in the first quarter of Game 3. The Mavs had a hot start, up 19 at home in their first home playoff game in years. Luka's first ever home playoff game. And they didn't step on the throats hard enough. They let Kawhi Leonard back into this series, and you don't do that to robots, man. I mean, there's been one too many post-apocalyptic movies that say you don't mess around with robots. They come back to haunt you.
But Luka looks like a hero in those movies, and unfortunately for him, he feels a bit overmatched now this time. Tyler, do you agree with that?
Well, the first 2 games didn't look like it, but as Nico said, Game 3 was a huge momentum swing, and it just goes to show how one game can drastically affect the entire series. So I don't know if he can gain back the momentum, especially with the injury, but we'll see.
Well, okay, I know this may sound painful to hear coming from a Lakers fan in yourself, but do you now think that the Clippers may be more favored in this particular series? I just saw the look in your face. I know you hate it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say the Clippers are, they got the upper hand in this series, and what a difference a few days can make, man. I thought the Lakers were good and the Clippers were pretty much out, but damn.
Your thoughts, Nico? Same sentiments?
Oh, I always try to bet on best player. The best player in the series always finds a way to eke out a 7-game series. If LeBron can get to that high level against the Suns, with or without AD, it'll be easier with AD. Then they're going to come back and win that series. I say the same thing about the Mavs and the Clippers. Luka Doncic has proved that he's the best player in that series, at least through the first 3 games. Maybe the 4th game was a little bit of a misnomer. If he can adjust and if he can find that footing again, and that level of production, 19 points, just not going to cut it. Then I still, if I'm an MFFL, if I'm a Mav fan for life, I wouldn't lose too much hope.
Well, Tyler, it's actually really interesting. He mentioned that Luka is probably the best player in that series. With a guy like Kawhi there, as part of that, do you think that is the case?
I'm going to say not right now.
Okay.
I think Kawhi has proven way too much for us to just discard him and put Luka above him, especially because, he has 2 Finals MVP.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Luka is almost there, but not quite.
All right, so right after this, we're going to jump into the Eastern Conference. But before we do that, we want to give out a shout-out to Damian Lillard, who was able to donate a sizable amount to the Philippine General Hospital, which recently caught fire. So thank you very much to Damian Lillard for that great gesture. Now, when we return, is Trae Young going to be the next big thing in the East? We'll answer that and more when the game returns. Welcome back to the game. I'm Paolo Del Rosario. With the NBA playoffs continuing to shape up, the Eastern Conference is spiced up with only the Bucks guaranteed a conference semis berth. With big wins, the Sixers, the Hawks, and the Nets are slowly but surely securing their spots in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Trae Young came in hot with 27 big points for Atlanta, leading the Hawks to a big win over the Knicks and giving his squad a 3-1 edge in the series. With Trae's stellar performance, is the rising Hawks star the next big thing in the East? Now, still with us are Tyler Teo and Nico Ramos. Nico, Trae Young in general, a lot of people were saying that, offensively he's probably the next Steph Curry, but he's worse on defense. And for some reason, this time around, not a lot of people are finding ways to exploit Trae Young to the point that the Hawks are bleeding on defense. They're winning. They're beating the Knicks, who are a good team this season. How special is Trae Young in this series, Nico?
Oh, he's incredibly special in this series and past it. Whether they go farther than the second round this year, or maybe that's something that he'll experience later on in his career. But he's really, truly a special generational offensive type of player. We'll be talking about him for years and years to come. But you brought up a great point. The reason the Knicks are struggling is because the Atlanta Hawks have been able to hide Trae Young, who, for all of his gifts offensively, is slightly better than not a lot of people when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. That's the nicest way I could put it.
Yeah.
But the Knicks can't put 5 threats on the floor at the same time, and the Hawks are able to hide Trae Young no problem. He gets his rest, and on the offensive side, he has all the energy, all the space, and all the creativity to wreak complete havoc.
Well, actually, Nico, I have a question for you. Do you think at this point in their careers, Trae Young is a better player than Steph Curry? I mean, third year.
At his third
point
year.
in their career.
Not right now, mind you.
Sorry, when Steph Curry was on his third year versus Trae Young now.
Trae Young is a savant if you try to look at it from how good he is immediately. As soon as he entered the NBA, even his rookie year, you could already see. I mean, he was throwing up one too many logo threes for anyone's liking at that point. But as soon as he entered the NBA, he already had an incredible feel for the offensive side of the ball. At that time, Steph Curry was still dealing with a bum ankle, and we didn't really think that he would be anything much more than a nice compliment to Monte Ellis. So in that respect, with all those qualifiers, I would say yes. But just saying it, even though I know it's true, feels a little wrong.
I kind of agree with you, though. I'm
just reminded of the Steph Curry gif of him nodding his head when the Lakers were making a run in that play-in game. And that's still one of the most frightening things I've ever seen in my life. So I feel like Steph's going to come for me. I have to look over my shoulder.
You don't know right now. He's already throwing a shot at you. You just already don't know it. But looking at how dangerous this Hawks teams are, Tyler, do you think that after, let's say they do get past the Knicks, can they still make noise in the playoffs?
I'm going to say that's as far as they go. If ever they even do beat the Knicks, there's still a chance.
Yeah.
But East is pretty tough this year. I don't think they're going to do much damage in the next round.
Okay, well,
That's me, though.
Absolutely. Now, one team that already has done damage is the Milwaukee Bucks. They swept the Heat, and Giannis, famous. Now, I think it's now going to be famous. They don't play with their food. I mean, that's a good life lesson in general. And Giannis doing that on the court to a team that just handled them very handily last time around was super impressive. And Tyler, looking at what Giannis did, do you think that the curse, I guess, of the Milwaukee Bucks in the playoffs, after what they did to Miami, is it out the window?
I'm not going to say it's out the window because, yeah, sure, they got rid of their demons from last year, but you got to remember they're most likely about to face the Brooklyn Nets, who I think are the favorites to win the East at least. So I don't know. What do you think, Nico?
I think that the Bucks are the same in name, the same in jersey colors as they were last season, but outside of that, this is a completely different team.
Yeah.
The addition of Drew Holiday has really changed the way they look defensively. They can send out a death five in terms of just this person is an all NBA level defender when they send out their big three of Middleton, Giannis, and Drew, and they throw in Brook Lopez and PJ Tucker. Now, you know, the spacing of that lineup makes sense because those are all threats outside of Giannis from three, but defensively they put on a clinic against what was a struggling Miami Heat, who's not the same as they were last year. And if there's a team out there from the East and the West included that has enough guys, enough bodies, and able defenders to throw at the mighty Brooklyn Net offensive force, it's going to be the Milwaukee Bucks. This is going to be the Nets' toughest defensive matchup that they're going to see all year long, and this is a great test for both teams.
So, Nico, on that note, actually, especially after what they did to the Heat, do you think that the Bucks are actually realistic title contenders for this year?
Absolutely, 100%. I think that if you gave them a chance to build a roster right now, that this is the roster that they'd want to go with, I think that they're going to have to depend on Giannis. Even Giannis hasn't had a fantastic game. He hasn't had a great series, and they swept the reigning Eastern Conference champions, who've been living in their head rent-free for the past year. Giannis shot 6% from three in those 4 games. 6%. Tyler, like, I could shoot better than 6%. You know how bad 6% from three is?
That's pretty bad.
I don't expect Giannis to be Steph Curry anytime soon, but that number is going to get a little better. And the Brooklyn Nets, once they stop playing with their New England food, they're going to have to start worrying about these Bucks team because it's different from the iterations we've seen in the past few years.
Absolutely. And Tyler, on that note, since we did talk about Brooklyn Nets, a lot of people were saying the Nets are probably the clear-cut favorites in the East. And with what the Bucks have shown against Miami, do you still think that is the case?
Definitely. I mean, look, the Nets have way too much offensive firepower with KD, Harden, and Kyrie. It's just, I don't know. For me, it's a little unfair, but we'll see if the Bucks can stop them. But I'm one of those who say that Brooklyn's probably gonna, beat them in 7. That's my take.
Brooklyn's gonna beat them in 7. First of all, that's actually a closer series than people would put it at. And Nico, just one really last quick one. If it is going to be, and most probably will be, the Bucks versus the Nets, in how many games do you have the ending?
Anyone in 7 of that series is a dream come true for me. I'm with Tyler.
Okay.
Although I feel like Coach Tab would agree with neither of us that the team with the most offensive firepower is just going to figure it out.
All right. Yeah.
But the Bucks can challenge, but the Nets in 7 is what I would put it at.
Okay, so close series for both these gentlemen in the next round, and we're going to find out if that's true later on. But for now, when we return, we go inside the game with former Blue Eagle captain Mike Nieto as he and his brother Matt take on leadership duties for Gilas Pilipinas in the Colum bubble. Keep it here. You're watching the game.
From being the youngest members of the national team in years past, Matt and Mike Nieto are now two of the more experienced one in this very young crop of Gilas Pilipinas men. The Nietos, though, are ready to show that they're capable of taking on leadership roles in this team. After being included in the PBA Special Gilas Draft in 2019, the two were national team full-timers on loan from their mother teams.
Being under the syempre nakasama namin nung unang bubble sila Manong, sila Kiefer, sila CJ Perez. Actually, kinuha lang namin lahat ng kaya naming i-absorb para maturo rin namin sa kanila yung mga kailangan matutunan. But when it comes to the system of Coach Tab, kasi kahit nung last bubble, yung Ateneo boys yung medyo veterans na rin. So, well, especially for Matt and myself, we welcome the challenge and gusto kasi talaga namin na kami yung leaders ng team na palagi namin ginagabayan yung mga bago para makapasok sa system ni Coach Tab. Kasi nga, of course, may 4 years din kami under, 5 years under kay Coach Tab and we just want to share all the things that we know so that pagdating naman ng time ng mga bata na sila naman yung leaders ng Gilas, may ibababa rin nila at matuturo nila doon sa mga mas bata sa kanila.
They were supposed to play alongside available PBA players, but with the limitations during the pandemic and the fluid schedule of the PBA, the two turned from the youngest to the most experienced in this very young Gilas squad.
For me personally, and for Matt as well, I can speak for Matt as well, sobrang hirap kasi nga in and out, yung pinakamatagal na nagstay kami dito was for 6 weeks. 6 weeks na hindi namin nakikita yung family namin. Lalo na kami ni Matt, sobrang close talaga namin as a family. Hindi kami sanay na mawalay sa kanila. But yun nga, sinisigaw namin kada huddle para sa bayan. Yun na lang talaga iniisip namin. At the same time, yung sacrifices namin na ginagawa dito sa hard trainings ni Coach Tab, walang-wala compared to sa mga sacrifices na ginagawa ng mga frontliners natin na ever since last year pa lang nagtatrabaho na para matulungan yung mga kabayan natin dito.
The circumstances have been challenging for the Nieto brothers and the entire squad, but the team is mostly feeling excitement as of the moment, with the games getting closer and closer.
Honestly, medyo may slippage kami, kasi nag-ECQ nga, so sarado lahat ng courts, sarado lahat ng gym. So actually one thing na or one lesson na we learned from that 3-week break was how for us to become professionals. Di ba kung paano kami dapat nag-act na kahit wala kami dito sa bubble, dapat ganito yung ginawa namin. And babawi na lang kami, kaya nga naman kami nagta-twice a day para may habol namin yung slippage na nangyari nung umuwi kami for 3 weeks.
For Mike, the most challenging part has been the frequent stopping and starting of their training, but the team took it as a chance to really become professionals.
At the end of the day, it all boils down to us wanting to become better at what we do, at what we love. And yun naman ang gusto ni Coach Tab sa amin for us to become better players. Para pagdating namin sa PBA, pagdating namin sa mother teams namin, yung mga Gilas boys, matulungan namin sila in a positive way. Kasi kahit gaano kahirap yung practice, para sa amin naman to ginusto namin to and lahat naman kami dito nag-e-enjoy. Kaya kahit gaano kahirap, pinapagawa nila Coach Dex, trainer namin nila Coach Tab. At the end of the day, para sa amin rin naman to.
Big D. From Calamba, Laguna, Carlo Pamintuan for One Sports Plus.
Well, needless to say, the birthday bros, the Nieto brothers, have come a long way from the streets of Cainta. Now, to tell us more about them, of course, we still have Tyler Tio and Nico Ramos here with us. Tyler, we were talking a bit about the leadership that they had for Ateneo that they're probably bringing into Gilas as well. And sinabi mo kanina, parang maingay sila eh. That's why a lot of people would listen because they talk a lot and they're loud.
A lot. They're very loud. They're the loudest on the team. And one thing that I remember about the Nieto brothers is that di sila magpapatalo, no matter what. And I think that all the players see that and they just follow their lead. You know, I mean, for Nico, I'm sure you can see it too. What impresses you most about the Nieto brothers?
I mean, just the sheer volume, Tyler. I'm glad that that's what you brought up. From my perspective, covering yourself, that Ateneo team, the Nieto boys, and Paolo, you know this. If you're there in the chair and you have the headphones on, a lot of the time you only hear game action.
Yeah.
You don't hear a lot of players actually, speaking and talking to each other, especially if they're on the bench. And, that's what Media Mike Nieto does. So he has a very special tone about his voice na as the game is going, marinig mo si Media Mike from the bench calling out the other team's plays. If you want to look for two guys who have just the disposition, the discipline, and the humility to be leaders, Jet Nieto and family have raised an incredible pair of leaders in Matt and Mike.
Well, you know what, speaking of the UAAP, since we all miss it, the UAAP President, Sir Nong Calanog, Executive Director, Attorney Rebo Sagisag, and Brother Ray Suplido share updates on the league's progress in the first episode of UAAP Talk. De La Salle University will still be the host for Season 84, and now with the presence of vaccines as quote-unquote game changers, the UAAP looks to come up with a proposal regarding not only the return to training, but also the return to competition. Thank you very much to Nico Ramos for joining Tyler and I here tonight. Again, Nico, great to have you over. And Tyler, thank you very much for being in studio. It's been a lonely time here, no lie.
Happy to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me, pal.
Thank you. And we'll see more of Tyler Tio in the coming days, so stay tuned for that. I think it's the first time you knowing that. I think you're coming back, right? Cool.
I like that. That's
All
good
right.
news.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So catch us weeknights here on One News, One Sports, and One Sports Plus. I'm Paulo Del Rosario. This has been The Game.